Hey guys, how you doing? Steve Rosen here, author of Tone Chaser, my book about my 26-year incredible journey with Edward Van Halen. And you are listening to Tom and Zeus at the Shout It Out Loudcast. Peace, everybody.
The year is 1971. The band is The Who, and the album is Who's Next. Welcome to the 50th episode of the Album Review Crew, where we are joined this month by special guest Murph as we discuss this iconic album by one of rock's most legendary bands. Murph, Zeus, good morning.
Good morning. I think it's been about 2.5 years since I've joined one of these episodes. Hotel California back in 2021, and really excited that reached out and asked if I would join today for another all-time classic.
That's right. That's right.
Murph, are you awake over there?
He's awake. He's just getting in he's just getting in tune.
I just want to make sure. Yes. Let's get the elephant in the room discussion going. We have a little bit of a different format. God bless our podcast, Shout It Out Loudcast Hall of Famer, Sonny Pooney.
Yep.
But it just turns out, guys, our scheduling is a little bit conflicting. It's a little bit harder to get it. And almost 50 episodes, we decided to kind of change the format a little bit. So there's no issues with Sonny. We all love each other somewhat, or, whatever. But there's no issues with Sonny. And he'll be back on doing a couple of these with us as well in the future. We're just basically doing is what now, Tom?
It's just going to be like a third man in format. So depending on the style of album, we just rotate a third man in. And obviously, Sonny will be part of that third man in. So we just don't want anybody to think that Sonny was fired for picking Europe last month. Okay?
So it'd be funny because it's like either he got fired for that, or he got fired because he quit because it's this album.
Yeah,
so you guys can figure that out. I don't know.
What, you think Europe and The Who aren't on the same planet in terms of rock music history?
Dude, he would have like Heat, fucking Bullet Boys, Winger, all above this shit.
And they were fucking funny, great episodes. And maybe
not great albums.
Well, I did like Europe. I'll admit that. But either way, it's all good with our brother Sonny. He helped us build ARC to where we are for episode 50, and he'll be back. So,
yeah. And so, this month it fell on me to pick an album. I took the classic rock album, Who's Next?
Yep.
And we decided to bring Murph on as our first special guest, since he was our first guest for the KISS podcast portion of Shout It Out Loudcast.
Yep.
It's apropos. So,
that's right. Yep.
But last month we had Sonny's The Final Countdown, and it was the final countdown to Sonny. So apropos there too.
Yep.
We got some feedback, Tom. We did a little poll over there, right?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because some of the feedback is fucking epic for this album. It's so good. So the poll was, 4 songs. What's the favorite song out of these? It was Heart of Stone, The Final Countdown, Cherokee, and Rock the Night. Our buddy Swede in New York, Heart of Stone is a classic and a live staple. Back in the days, they would do the last chorus a cappella style, phenomenal song. And then he has a clip from London, 1987. Our buddy Tony, Vacationing Tony, who does the intro music to ARC. Heart of Stone has always been my favorite track on the record. It's definitely the one I go back to this album more than any. And then he goes, oh, I almost forgot. Here's another photo of me looking miserable on vacation. And it's him hanging off the edge of a cruise ship with his lovely lady friend. So we always love seeing Tony's vacation pictures. Ooh.
Tony from Restrained?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Baden McLeod. They're all great songs. However, it's the guitar solo in Final Countdown for the win. And let's get to the ever exciting episode specific comments, which we all love. So our buddy Nige, who listens to the most bizarre selection of metal ever, says, this is Sonny's pick. And then he has a gif of an old woman at a computer. And on the screen, it says, I am in hell. Help me. Let's see. My Rock and Roll Heaven. That's a great Twitter page there too. He goes, I'll be interested to listen to this episode. For me, the album has not aged well. Out of This World is their defining album. Okay. First of all, Rock and Roll Heaven, with all due respect, I don't know if Europe has a defining album. It's fucking Europe. All right. But anyways, our buddy Wally Vidal, great review, guys. It's a great, catchy album. I can't wait for the Metal Church and Pool ARC episodes. Well, guess what? Keep waiting. Keith Rochford, this should be interesting. I can't wait to hear Tom and Zeus's thoughts. Now we all have that keyboard riff in our heads. Oh, God. Your Friend. I just finished the episode, Pure Gold. As for the artwork, I had it on cassette, and the plastic backing was blue, matching the cover, which made it kind of cool. The vocals and production are stellar. And then Cody Brunette just commented with, oof. That was it. And let's finish up here. Our buddy Steve, he always likes to give his rankings. And he says, once again, Sonny picks another awesome album. So this was definitely one of the most polarizing and fun albums and episodes we've done. But that's what we got for Twitter there, Zeus.
Could I add a quick comment?
Oh, absolutely, Murph. Jump in, brother.
Surprised by the choice, always entertaining. But that album, even though I have not listened to it in years and probably would not be going out to look for it,
yeah,
that album defined a period of my life and probably your life. It's like 1987. When you say 1987,
yep.
When I hear Europe, that's what I think. I think 8th grade that summer, Final Countdown, Carrie getting played all the time on MTV. So it was a nostalgic listen for sure.
Yeah.
Even though it
definitely
may not be the greatest album in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree. 87. We say it with Kiss and Crazy Nights, and yeah, real interesting time for music for sure. The keyboards were out of this world, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to your interpretation. But Zeus, what do you got on the Book of Face?
All right. Yvonne Japson.
Oh, geez.
Giggity, 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 giggity. Great songs. Norm is amazing. Solid 7 songs. I was 11 when I got this. It brought back so many memories. The cover is pretty cool, so I don't get the hate. The only issue is there's a globe Earth. Dude, that
is one of my favorite ARC comments ever. My only problem with the album cover is the Earth is round.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite comments ever.
He needs to seek help. There's something wrong with him.
Right. We know that.
Kevin. If you're a Family Guy fan, I can't stop singing Peter and Quagmire, train on the water, boat on the tracks. Every time you guys sing Danger on the Track. Ninja is horrible, but definitely got to revisit this again.
Ninja is painful.
Shout it out, Loudcaster, Hall of Famer, Shay, don't call me disheveled, Scott.
You look disheveled.
One of the worst albums and bands in this era of music. Ugh. Yeah, he was very, very aggressive with his hatred towards this album.
Oh, he did not enjoy this pick at all. Like, you're right. It upset him.
Yes.
Physically, he had a physical reaction to this pick.
Yes. All right. Brett Roscoe. If someone said to me, give me an example of great melodic rock, here it is. Love this record. I do feel the success of the Final Countdown single harmed the band whilst making them millionaires. If it had just sneaked into the top 40 and wasn't played at every event in New Year's Eve, us rock fans would be calling it a classic and saying, how is this not a hit? The popular appeal of it killed it for us and tarnished the band. So much so that they moved away from this style. Agree with Zeus. I wish there was another record with this lineup in the same vein and tried to prove they were a serious rock band. Regarding Danger on the Track, lyrically, it seems influenced by Thin Lizzy's Whiskey in the Jar and maybe Gary Moore's Over the Hills and Far Away, released around the same time. Anyway, thanks for a fun and entertaining show about one of my favorite albums, the 80s. Amazing time for music and bands. I almost agree with him about, like, this is melodic rock, 80s melodic rock. And nobody's really doing this type of music. The bands that have survived, that are still putting out music, and I had this comment with Sonny. He's like, oh, yeah, you don't understand. They like do something really different. Well, why would I want something to do something different?
That's right. That's
and
right.
The same thing with the band like Striper. Oh, no, they're hard. They're heavy now. Like, why?
I don't want that.
Yeah,
no, you're
exactly.
right. But you're right. Right around this era is, and again, I keep using the Kiss Crazy Nights kind of comparison. Right around that late 80s era, that's when hair metal or whatever you want to call it, that's when it became like melodic. Like to me, the aggressive stuff was like the early 80s, like the hard aggressive stuff, like early Def Leppard, like early Ozzy. Even Ozzy started to get hard, but still like melodic, quote unquote, for him in the late 80s.
Yeah. Over on Loudcasters, Michael Murphy, pure, unadulterated, homogenized cheese. If you're lactose intolerant, listening to this album could actually kill you.
That's good. I like that.
The Taxman Anthony Barone.
Yeah.
Wasn't this just on a Dorm Damage list? It was.
Yes.
It was on most irritating songs, wasn't it? Well, like a week before.
Well, Europe appeared on 2 different Dorm Damage episodes. Final Countdown was on Most Annoying Songs, and then John Norum appeared on the episode we did about Most Underrated Guitarists of the 80s.
Yes.
Yep.
Joseph Collins says, I got the cassette for Christmas in 86. There you go. Sneed Rock. A lot of talk about John Norum so far in the episode. Norum wasn't just a fan, but a close friend of Yngwie growing up. So the Blackmore influence is no surprise. Norum is a killer guitar player that can shred when he wants while staying more on the melodic side. There is also Kiss-related trivia with John after this album released a solo album where he does a cover of Vinnie Vincent's Back on the Street. Yep, we heard that. Yep. He kept the solo way more control and melodic than Vinnie. The video for this song is horrendous. He put a clip of it.
Yep.
Ray Gallus, a little disappointed. This album sounds laughably bad. Title track is decent, but the rest of this is just forced and artificial. There is no soul, passion, nor any real human emotion here. Contrived record. This should have been an episode rife with derision and humor. Instead, I feel like Sonny spiked your drinks.
That's actually a really great comment. But I just want to comment on that for a little bit. So if you examine this album through the lens of 2024, yeah, it hasn't aged well. It's of the time. But I don't know. I try sometimes to like separate that and look at it from like, okay, this is what was popular at this time. They did a good job with it. Does it age well? No, but that's okay. But you're right. I don't know if I said this during the episode. I felt like this Final Countdown was one of the best instances of like the Stockholm syndrome. I'm like, I can't believe I like this album.
Yeah. No, but and that's just it. You go into this album, it's supposed to be, just going to be, it's not fun just having an album to review. This sucks. This song sucks.
Mm-hmm.
This sucks. This is terrible. I can't listen to it.
Yep.
And what we want to do is give every album that somebody picks a chance. And for us, I feel like this album kind of surprised Tom. I already liked it from years ago.
I had
forgotten about it. Yeah. And so what are you going to do if you fucking like something? You can't just crack jokes on it. And I think we did when it comes to the videos and this silliness of them singing into ketchup bottles.
Oh, God.
Keith Ross. That's it. I'm boycotting Shout Out Loudcast and ARC. I now have nightmares of Pooney singing the keyboard lines to Final Countdown. I'm suing you all for punitive damages that you're giving me. Great episode as always.
Nice.
Daniel Haller Houston. True story. Europe having keyboards meant that they were always in standard tuning and easy to play along with. I would play this record on and practice shredding. My friends were all speed metal guys and did not like Europe. I had both my amp and stereo up loud, and my friend came over, and my mom let him in. He walked up to my room, just stood there until I noticed him. What the fuck, dude? You are listening to Europe and jamming to it? What's wrong with you? I didn't live that down for a long time. Oh, my God. Over on Instagram, there are 2 comments. One is from Bulletproof Music 23, which I think is the Greek Thunder from Down Under, Thanos.
I think so, yep.
Brilliant review and brilliant album, and still a great band. On the other one is Clark Side of the Moon.
Oh, yep.
Give props to the band for what they accomplished. But if the cover artist wanted to really capture the essence of the album, he should have just drawn a vagina on the cover.
Oh, Jesus. Christ almighty. God.
Over on YouTube, FM Big Hair says, Ninjas and Cherokees? We're at a fucking car dealership now? And I think that's your comment, Tom.
Yep.
Unleash Raider 85. In 86, I was 12. I bought shit I saw on MTV, Bon Jovi, Cinderella, Poison. Examples. I was on my way to the rec store to buy this shitty Europe album. But I heard some guy playing Master of Puppets in his garage on the way. I left the store with puppets. Got home that day and threw the Poison and Bon Jovi in the trash. Metal Church has 3 classic albums.
Oh, God, here we go.
The Metal Church Defenders. Tom, that's what I got, buddy.
All right, let's bang out a couple of quick emails here. We got one from our buddy Yanni Aslak Rossinen.
Oh, no.
No relation to Esa Tikkanen or Reo Rutsalainen. Back in 86, Europe's Final Countdown was impossible to get away from. The song was everywhere in Finland. Sporting events, radio, TV, school disco nights, and so was the album. Because it sold truckloads, I see copies of it for the price of a banana at every flea market I go to. And I don't mind, since the best part is it's a decent 80s poodle hair record. The band absolutely shines when they are at their sappiest. Carrie is a bona fide pop metal ballad. Rock the Night also rocks in its Def Leppard-y fashion. Then there are the historically inaccurate Ninjas and the nonsensical Fight for the Strangers, which is an actual song by a Finnish 80s hair metal band. Check out the link. Type of head scratchers, which prove that the band wasn't built to rock too hard or teach us history like Maiden successfully did. That kind of depth just wasn't there. And oh yeah, at concerts, the band sometimes played Final Countdown twice when they opened and closed the show. Yeah, they did that when I saw them open for Def Leppard. Again, thanks for
That's horrendous.
Sorry. That's really bad. Again, thanks for an entertaining ARC. Looking forward to the next one. All the best from Finland. And then we got one from Danny Pooney. My schedule hasn't allowed me to listen in a while, but then when I saw the Final Countdown, I had to make the time. Such a great album from front to back with no skippers for me. I had never seen the Rock the Night video, but had to after your comments. I thought it was a fun video that went along with a fun song, very of the time. I saw Europe on Mork in 2015, and they owned the ship. Everyone was very excited to see them. Good times. Ninja survive. Danny Pooney. All right.
Who the fuck else was on the ship if a 2015 Europe was owning the ship?
I don't know. Dick Tracy? I don't know. I have no idea. Mike H. I have to be honest and admit that the keyboard riff in the Final Countdown annoyed me so much that I refused to give the album and the band a chance. Plus, I saw a now famous video on YouTube of a really bad band doing a really bad cover of the song that confirmed my hatred. Petty? Yes. Justified? Probably not, but fuck it. Sorry, not sorry. That's Mike H., and that's what we got for emails. So, time for the whom.
Thank God. Let's wash this shit up out into the ocean. Yeah, so what we usually do is, this one's my pick. We go back and ask each other, first time interacting with the album, thoughts and how you got into it and everything like that. So the Who was just always around, kind of when you grow up, you can't miss them.
Yep.
So they were always there. And more importantly, though, for me, my brother, that's probably his favorite band. So he really got into them and played them all the time. He was buying Roger Daltrey and Pete Townshend solo albums. It was his thing, and all his friends loved The Who. And they're just the legendary band that they are. So a lot of these songs, either through being just growing up and listening to this type of music, rock radio stations, WBCN, WAAF, we're playing this kind of music. So the songs specifically on this album, I was aware of. So Bargain, Won't Get Fooled Again, Bob O'Reilly, and Behind Blue Eyes, I already knew inside out before. I bought this album back in college days on my own, got the CD through either Ziggy Marley or Jorge Plantes or Chode, one of my aliases from BMG and Columbia House. And I always liked it. And what I wanted to do when I had it came around to me for this pick, I just like changing things up and going a little bit off the grid. This is about as classic rock as you're going to get. And, you're looking at 1971 for an album for ARC. That's not very common. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to have a discussion because some of these songs on this album specifically are highly ranked for me personally. So I wanted to have a chance to, put it out there for those who are not, I bet you I won't be that surprised or aren't familiar with this because they're more inclined to the hair metal genre. Enlighten yourselves. Get some classic rock music in yourself. And this, to me, this album is the definitive Who album. The only other album that kind of I remembered a little bit was the album that came on. I think it was Face something. It was like You Bet on it.
Face Dances.
Yeah, Face Dances. That's it. That's the only other one that I remember purchasing years ago when I was little. But this album to me deserves the ARC treatment, and I'm anxious to hear what you guys think.
So I think I've mentioned before on other times that I've joined the two of you. I am the oldest in my family, so both of you have mentioned of the influences you've had to music within your own household. My mother played a lot of disco, Barry Manilow, Barbra Streisand, and I was picked on by kids in the neighborhood who had
they
older
were
siblings.
Throwing things at you?
Yes, because of the Barry Manilow records.
And he used to wear little tight shorts at school.
And these kids that my friends had older siblings who were listening to AC/DC, Black Sabbath, The Who. And so in my head, I always pictured The Who as this, same category as heavy metal, even though they weren't. But I think what seared it in my head, and I'm going to take both of you down memory lane in case you remember. The first time I really remember The Who in my brain is there used to be a TV commercial for a heavy rock station in Boston, WCOZ.
Yeah, 94.5. Yep.
And there was a commercial that it had Townshend doing the windmill, bouncing
Absolutely.
around. Mm-hmm. So in my head, I thought this was just like all those other bands. Mm-hmm. But then MTV came along. One of the first albums I got, and I do not know why, was a 1982 Pete Townshend solo album.
My love, open the door.
Good album.
It was
good solo. Yeah. Good solo career.
And then over time, as you mentioned, Zeus, they just started popping up everywhere. It was, Magic Bus. They did a reunion tour late 80s, and their catalog is so expansive that you have their greatest hits, 20 songs on it. And what I realized going into this episode here, I only knew 4 songs on this album, the classics. Mm-hmm. So when you asked about it, I was like, yeah, all right, sure, The Who. And then going through it, it was, it was just going in fresh, walking away from it, and then saying, all right, gonna need to listen to this 10 to 15 times. And, by the end of it, you have a better understanding of where Townshend was, he was the driving force in this band. And by the end of it, also, I was like, all right, I'm starting to understand why he hates Zeppelin.
Well, so for me, my background with the Who, it's funny, Murph bringing up like the sibling thing. I never really listened to the Who. I mean, you couldn't avoid it, but growing up with classic rock radio, whether it was ZLX in Boston, COZ, any of those things, like you couldn't avoid the Who. They were the most like hits radio band, like Zeppelin. And I owned one Who album in my entire life, and it was the cassette of It's Hard, because I loved Eminence Front. I still think that's one of the fucking greatest songs of the era. I love that song.
I can't believe you like that song. I have nothing. I've always
loved that song. Love it. Love that. Love it. So that's the only Who thing. So it's weird. I like later Who, which is weird because when I hear Kiss fans saying, I'm like, what's the matter with you? What do you mean you like Sonic Boom? But I like later Who because in my mind, early Who is like a 60s band, like Magic Bus, My Generation. I know they have Won't Get Fooled Again and Bob O'Reilly. We'll get into that. But like to me, they weren't. It's weird to say. To me, they were never like a hard rock band. They were just like a 60s band that had like an incredible vocalist and like a incredible drummer, et cetera, et cetera. So they were never like hard rock to me. So I didn't not like them. I just never really had a passion for them. And I always thought that like some of their stuff was a little too like artsy, folksy, which is weird considering that Zeppelin is one of my all-time favorite bands and they encompass that too. But I thought Zeppelin rocked way harder than the Who ever did. We'll get into that when we talk about the album. So I never owned Who's Next. This is the first time I've ever listened to the album in its entirety when Zeus picked it. But I knew 5 of the songs because you couldn't avoid them. They're all over the radio. But I'm excited to talk about this because I discovered some interesting things spending some time with this album for the last month. So,
yeah. So it's funny you say that, Tom. It's always amazing because we have this debate constantly. Like the 70s is the best era in music, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then you always like, oh, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Kiss, Fleetwood Mac. You always think of that. But people forget how big the Stones were still in the 70s.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
how huge the Who was in the 70s. So they're not just the 60s band. They're one of the bands that actually continued even into the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
They were still big, still putting out albums that people were buying.
Yep.
The 70s Who is, for me, top notch.
Mm-hmm.
I like the 60s. They're just a heavier Beatles and a heavier Stones. To me, they're heavier than both those bands. And I always look at it as the big 4, the Who, Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and the British Invasion, and then you throw in the Kinks, maybe, as far as the British Invasion goes. That's how I look. The original version of the British Invasion, the 60s.
And Zeus, it's funny you say that because I know they're an all-timer for a band, but I always felt Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin were in that tier, and they were just outside it. But they were always knocking on the door. But I just felt like, even though their catalog, they were around for 20 years, their styles changed. I just felt they never got to that same level. And maybe it's because some of the things that we'll talk about, rock opera and doing concept albums and things that, and, where they just maybe a little proggy compared to the others.
Oh, no, I completely disagree with you on that. They were just as big of anybody. I mean, there were times they were the biggest by far. This era specifically, they had their own. I mean, they were breaking records, fucking causing stampedes and people getting killed at concerts. We all know about that. But the Who were the fucking poor kids, and they changed how concerts and ticket promoters and all that stuff, and the liability with people getting trampled at one of their fucking shows. And it just, for my money, I'm not sure there is a better fucking foursome of musicians ever in music.
Besides
they're
Zeppelin.
up there. Yeah, they're up. They're competing with them.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I was thinking of this as I'm listening to this album. We've done 48 albums on ARC. I think it would be, I mean, I love Rush, and Neil Peart is.
Yeah, I can see them.
Is a completely different drummer than Keith Moon, but Roger Daltrey is arguably the greatest vocalist we've ever discussed on ARC, in my opinion.
Yep.
Well, hold on. Might not be
frontman too.
Might not be my favorite. But in terms of, I mean, this might be the best band, quote unquote, that we've ever discussed. And we've discussed some fucking legendary bands on ARC. But I think, to me, just kind of getting back to what Murph said about The Who, to me, when I think of The Who, first thing I think of is the hits. Won't Get Fooled Again and Baba O'Reilly and My Generation. But then the thing that kind of separates The Who from the other bands is that my mind directly goes to the artsy, Tommy, rock opera, Pete Townshend weirdness that doesn't rock out. And to me, I put them in the same category kind of as Queen, which is a band I never got into because they were very operatic and very, they didn't rock hard. They had songs that did, but generally speaking, I never ever got into Queen. I'm not comparing Queen to The Who in everything, but that's where my mind goes when I think of The Who. It's the hits, and then it's the proggy artsy stuff.
Zeus, you mentioned it, and as I was listening to the album and then watching some of the documentaries you guys suggested,
yeah,
I was going through the comparison, like, all right, who do you take? Entwistle, John Paul Jones,
yep,
Jimmy Page, Pete Townshend. I mean, it really is
Do
unbelievable.
it. Go ahead.
There's nobody from The Who that's better than anybody from Zeppelin.
Oh, I completely disagree. I completely.
Okay. No, that's fine.
I think it goes 50-50. No. John Entwistle is arguably the greatest bass player of all time. His fucking playing is absolutely insane.
He's unbelievable.
He's got the quick fingers of, like, you'll see, I guess, like Geddy Lee can do crazy shit. And he's got that heavy fucking bass. What you talk about?
And he stands still like a cardboard cutout.
He makes fucking Spruce Kulick look like fucking.
He looks bored,
like Angus Young.
The only thing that breaks the tie for me is John Paul Jones' ability on the keyboards and all the accessories.
So he's got a little bit of, he's more unique and stuff. He can do stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, you got this guy who's singing, plays the horns, plays the piano on songs.
Yep.
So I would put him slightly ahead. And I love JPJ.
I know you do.
Okay. Yeah. Jimmy Page. Okay.
It's not even close.
It's not close, but music composition, Pete Townshend is a top 5 musical genius in rock and roll, in my opinion.
It's
top
funny.
5. Him,
it's funny.
Brian Wilson, Prince, Stevie Wonder, and Smokey Robinson. People like that are so fucking talented, could do everything. Okay.
Zeus, I'm so glad that you brought up Prince, because when I was watching the Classic Albums documentary on this album, as I'm watching this and listening to Pete Townshend and watching him compose and talk, I'm sitting there going, this guy is Prince, is a British 70s. The guy is
rock Prince.
He's fucking smart. It's painful how brilliant he is.
Yep, exactly, Tom. Watching that documentary on Classic Album Rocks.
Yep.
Him like, oh yeah, well, I just did this, I sped this, and then I put on the synthesizer, and I'm doing that, and you're like,
but his ability to compose.
Stop. Yep. What are you talking about?
Yep.
And then if you go back, to me, I like Bonzo better than Keith Moon. There are some that'll say Keith Moon is better, but for me, John Bonham is
definitely
is. I wouldn't say that much. I like Bonham's drumming better. Keith Moon is absolutely insane. Insane.
I will say this, to me, Keith Moon is what makes The Who a rock band. Because if Keith Moon, if The Who had a drummer like Ringo Starr or Charlie Watts, they would, and again, Ringo Starr and Charlie Watts are fucking legendary. But Keith Moon brings the balls to The Who.
He blew up a drum set on the Smothers Brothers in 1967.
He is such a spaz that he has to put tape around his headphones.
Yep.
Because they kept coming off.
They kept falling off.
So he has to tape that on his head because he's insane.
But a lot of these songs, and we'll get into it when we break it down, a lot of these songs get the balls and the weight from them because of what Keith Moon is doing. Like I said, if you put like a Peter Criss, or again, one of those drummers that are good, It won't work. It won't work.
No, but on the other part, Tom, it's not for me. And I obviously like Robert Plant. But to me, Daltrey's a 10 times better singer. And
10 times?
10
Whoa.
times.
Whoa.
But you've heard me talk about it. I'll take David Coverdale over Plant.
Ouch.
Okay? Yeah, I mean, and I like Robert Plant, but I'm just saying, Daltrey is a better frontman. The fucking shit he does with the mic, and when he's singing Won't Get Fooled Again, and Bob O'Reilly, dun, 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 and he's swinging the mic.
Fucking legendary.
And I mean, it was the era. Him, Coverdale, Plant, good-looking blonde frontman,
the rock god,
wearing the fucking jeans and tight shirts or open shirts, swinging the mic. It is watching them. I mean, we weren't even at this, but watching them do Won't Get Fooled Again with Bob O'Reilly in that performance video that I show you is about as glorious of a rock concert video of a band in its prime. And then you got Pete Townshend, who invented so many cliches in rock music. The
smashing the guitar,
smashing the windmill, and even just his gawky, long, lanky fucking frame and the way
his moves.
Yeah. He just can't control himself. You can tell, like, he's just so into it.
Yeah.
And he's just so weird, and it just works. It just works.
And
Murph, I want to hear Murph's comparison between the Zeppelin and the Who in terms of individual members.
So I would say Entwistle, better bass player, but it's a toss-up, I think, what with JPJ, as Zeus mentioned, just being able to play mandolin and all the other instruments. Townshend, I would say Page is the better guitarist. Townshend is the more creative individual, as just what's going on in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously brought in energy. I mean, watching those videos and, we can talk about later of just, he's moving around, and it was back then you had the cord plugged into the amp. So just, you were like, at any point he could just go flying. I think toss up between, Moon and Bonham. I don't think either one is the right or wrong answer. And then with Daltrey, better frontman. I don't think it's even close. I think Plant blows him off the stage as a singer, but Daltrey had that look. Watching last night, Won't Get Fooled Again. Christine made the comment going, "Those pants are pretty tight."
Yes.
Yeah. But this is what we get. We have this type of discussion. This is what I wanted when I picked this album.
So go ahead, Murph.
And one last thing. I think, it just, the frontman, the look, I don't think if Zeppelin did Tommy, I don't think Plant gets the nod to be in the movie. I think, Daltrey had that teen idol look.
Yeah.
That just, kind of made it to the masses, more broadly than Plant.
I think one thing about, I just want to go back to the Daltrey Plant thing. I think Plant, and I think you guys will kind of understand what I'm saying. Plant has the better howl per se. Like if you listen, like Daltrey has the better rock
power.
He has the rock. Right. He's got the more powerful.
Yeah.
Like and we'll get to it on the song that we're going to all talk about. So they're different, but they're the same. And I think it depends on what song you want sung as to who you would prefer. But again, it's two sides of the same coin. You can't fucking beat them. But you're right. When he is swinging that mic around and fucking owning the stage, I'm like, dude, I want to fucking stampede somebody at a concert myself.
And just like, and it's like, it's that part in Bob O'Reilly when it's like, duh,
yep.
And you're just watching Entwistle just fucking hit these heavy bass line, boom,
while not moving.
And and looking like, and looking like, he's like, did I leave my oven on at home? Right? And then Townshend's just going nuts with the windmill, and Keith Moon is, obviously insane back there. It's the picture perfect of rock.
There's a clip of Keith Moon. It's fun. I love it because he's banging the shit out of his drums so hard. The snare is like bouncing off the kit, like it's going to fall off. I fucking love it.
Could you have your followers put a video clip together of Entwistle and Charlie Watts playing together?
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff though. Good stuff.
All right. Well, let's get into the album itself. So first thing we do, album cover.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have any thoughts on it?
Very interesting. I only found out in recent days what the whole backstory about it was. I assumed, as I saw the album over the years, knowing it came out around 70, 71, I thought it was actually some type of reference to the monolith in 2001 Space Odyssey. Didn't realize it was just something in, I don't know if it was like a landfill or construction. And didn't even realize until 2 days ago that they had all just taken a piss on that stone and they're all zipping up. I actually thought the album cover was really creative, but then knowing that detail behind it, I was like, it kind of ruined it for me, because I just thought it was always a cool look and mysterious and, trying to understand what was the meaning behind it. So Google kind of ruined it for me a little bit.
I think it's fucking stupid. Honestly, I think it's really, I don't get it. I mean, I'm not the most mature person in the world, but I think when you got one of the world's biggest rock bands pretending to piss on, I just think it's stupid. I don't get it. Like, it's silly, and I don't get it. And I'll tell you, because I'm so OCD, the thing that annoys me more than anything is that the N in next is not capitalized. Other than that, I just think it's dumb. They're all zipping up with piss. And I mean, the background, not all of them pissed on it. Some of them poured like friggin' water on the thing and everything. But I just think I don't know. I just think it's, to sound like somebody who's more mature than they actually are, I just think it's silly.
Well, it's a photo taken July 4th, 71 by a guy named Ethan Russell. They're all pissing on this large concrete that's just coming out of the ground. Yeah, and it does have kind of the 2001 Space Odyssey kind of theme to it,
yep.
And which they talk about, and they just wanted to do something simple. So the guy took the photo of them pissing on the wall, and they're like, fuck it, let's make this the cover.
It's funny, if I didn't know any better, I mean, I know Led Zeppelin Presence came out years after this,
yeah.
But my instinct is to be like, oh, are they pissing on Zeppelin right now? Like, is that like a little subtlety? But of course, Presence didn't come out until years after Who's Next, but.
No. That's that part. So let's go to the album itself. Who's Next came out August 2nd, 1971. It's produced by The Who and Glyn Johns, which always leads me back to thinking about the Eagles and Glyn Johns and the documentaries. Like, well, they wanted to rock. You're not rock. You're not The Who. I know rock music. You guys aren't doing this. And I could just picture Don Henley trying to drum and thinking he's like Keith Moon. And this guy's like, dude, you're not even in the same fucking ballpark.
Yep.
And them doing like Peaceful, Easy Feeling.
Yeah.
After he just recorded Won't Get Fooled Again. It's like, dude, are you serious, guys?
Yeah.
Well, anyways, the album's gone triple platinum over time. And since this last time it was, they checked, 28 on Rolling Stones in 2003, 2012, greatest rock albums of all time. It went back to 77 in 2020, which always gets me to this point. How did it lose 49 spots from 2012 to 2020? What fucking album came out during those times that moved this from 28th greatest album down to 77?
No, I don't think anything better came along. I think people stopped buying it because the generation that liked The Who got older and older and older. And as younger music fans started buying albums, nobody was listening to The Who. That's why. That's why I
say the same thing about all the classic albums in that point. My point is, there's no fucking great albums that would push this thing down. That came out fucking from 2012 to 2020.
No, I don't think anything pushed it out. I think people stopped buying it, so it stayed stagnant in terms of sales.
But you can, like I said, you could say that about all those albums. All those albums from the Stones and Zeppelin and I mean the same thing that happened on Zeppelin albums. We have the same comment on Zeppelin Chronicles where those albums drop dramatically. Yeah. I don't think people bought Zeppelin any more than they stopped buying other albums. I just feel like these guys all of a sudden Rolling Stones like Missy Elliott had an album that came out in 2014 that's just so much superior.
I don't think Missy Elliott's album 50 years later has an effect on Who's Next.
It's in the top 10 of greatest albums right now.
What is?
One of her albums.
According to who?
Rolling Stone. That's what I'm saying. In their magazine, they drop things down.
Yeah, no one.
And so shit like that is what's replaced is my point.
Let's be serious. No one likes Missy Elliott. And the fact that she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a fucking nightmare.
Dude, yeah, they put one of her albums in the top 10 of all time.
Yeah, well, that's painfully embarrassing. and we all know why they're doing that, but let's move on.
All right. It's also been in Time Magazine's 100 Greatest Albums, 2007, made the Grammy Hall of Fame. It went to number 4 in the U.S., number 1 in the UK. It's The Who's 5th studio album. And for those who don't know, Tommy had come out before, the rock opera Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
This was part of a project that was called Lifehouse, was supposed to be something similar. So most of the songs came from that.
Yep.
And the project got abandoned because no one understood what the fuck Pete Townshend was talking about. And then like Glyn Johns came the idea, like, dude, you got enough good rock songs here. Let's just put an album together from that.
Yeah, Pete Townshend was trying to pull like a 2112, like Rush with a story. Like, Rush can do that because they had never done it before. Glyn Johns is like, dude, you just did a fucking rock opera with Tommy. Enough. This ain't music from the Elder. Stop.
Yeah, well,
you know what was funny when I'm looking at this? Glyn Johns saved this album by saying, stop with the Lifehouse shit. I wonder if somebody said to Kiss, stop with this. There are good songs here. Let's not do the Elder. Let's do something and salvage the songs like The Oath, like whatever, Mr. Blackwell. When I was reading about this and studying this, I'm like, Glyn Johns made Who's Next what it is because of his ability to be like, stop with this, let's do this. And I just was like, oh, I wonder if anybody ever did that to Kiss with music from the Elder.
I can't believe you just said that, Tommy, because listening to the album continuously this week and knowing that it was kind of the spill out from a concept album.
Yeah.
I actually heard when one of the songs we'll talk about, I'm like, oh, this sounds like something that was on the Elder.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, 8 of the 9 songs, with the exception of My Wife.
I can't say it.
Were from the Lifehouse project.
Yep.
And so it's prevalent throughout this. So certain songs have certain themes and supposed to be sung by certain character in the movie, fucking story, play, whatever it was going to be. And you'll be able to tell that. Anything else before we start?
I just think it was interesting how Pete Townshend just kind of had kind of like a breakdown, like a nervous breakdown about this and about the collapse of the Lifehouse project. And I just think it goes to show, we already hinted at it before, like whenever you're like like when you are so smart that it affects your ability to like, it's like it creates sometimes like a painful life. You hear about like these geniuses, whether they're like artists or musicians or whatever. And I'm not saying that Pete Townshend kind of deserved to have a breakdown, but he had this vision, and when it didn't work, it affected him. But thankfully you had a guy like Glyn Johns, and you had these songs that were in place that he was able to channel in, kind of take the best of what that Lifehouse project was and give us Who's Next.
He wasn't getting inspiration or, using drugs. He had mentioned in that documentary that he had dabbled a little bit, but was basically, just other than the occasional drink, wasn't really using anything. So if it's just consuming you, it's, can take a toll. So not surprising to hear that he had a semi breakdown as a result of the production of the music and the songs.
Yeah.
So make it similar. That's exactly what happened to Brian Wilson, who was way too fucked up on drugs.
Yep.
And he did the Smile album, which he tried to get done in 1967, and they never really finished it, and he went fucking crazy.
Yep.
And then, years later on, I think 2004, 3, 4, like he finally released it. And like with what he wanted to do, but it's not the Beach Boys, it's Brian Wilson's. So like he went back to it. The Lifehouse, the Who has drawn like albums, mix albums, put it together, done it together. Because there's a lot of songs that didn't make this album that were part of that project. He's put it together and put it on various compilations and stuff. So just like Brian Wilson did with Smile, except that Pete Townshend didn't lose his fucking mind. He was just too busy looking at fucking kiddie porn or whatever he was doing for.
There it is. I knew we'd get to that.
Research.
Yeah. One thing before we get into the tracks, I thought it was funny. We talk about how they transitioned away from the Lifehouse into this. So they were playing at like small theaters, and everyone's like, "What the fuck is going on? What do you do? What is happening here? I don't know." And then there's actually like a story behind Lifehouse. Like,
yeah, of course.
Again, I kind of like it. Like there's like Rush 2112. There's a plot to that story, and if you can friggin' decipher all the insanity of it, it's actually kind of a cool plot. But because 2112, the song itself is in 3 parts or whatever, it's 22 minutes long. It's like, I don't know what the fuck's happening right now. And I think, again, Glyn Johns was like, stop, let's do this.
Well, he found the rock songs in all that stuff, the good ones, and he pulled them out. So before we get into the song tracks and one of those great rock songs that we discussed, let's take a quick little break. All right, we're back. And what a great way to start. Track number 1.
So the album kicks off with one of the most legendary and iconic rock songs of all time, with which one of the iconic intros of all time with those keys. And of course, Baba O'Reilly comes from 2 of Pete Townshend's major inspirations, Maimer Baba and Terry Riley, because of course, song better known as Teenage Wasteland to people like us when we were younger. The power of The Who really, really comes through in this intro. I mean, this is a band that really knows how to do a fucking intro. You have that incredible, crazy keyboard sound. Then when that piano slams in, and then Keith Moon comes crashing in with those drum fills. And Zeus, this is where I will say when we were talking about power of Daltrey. Out here in the fields, like, I'm like, it gets you fired up. And that's what I think Robert Plant doesn't do. He can wail and he can howl, but projecting so much power. And then it's weird again with The Who. Pete Townshend comes in with the chorus, Teenage Wasteland. Then Daltrey does the chorus. It's such a unique song where I think it incorporates everything that The Who does. It rocks. It's artsy. It's theatrical. You get the violin section at the end where it speeds up and it's kind of like a little hoedown. It's just an incredible song. What a legendary way to fucking open up an album.
A lot of times we'll use the term iconic, all-timer.
Yep.
In rock and roll. I mean, this one really does hit all the marks. I think also it's a song that you don't have to be a rock fan. You know this song. You know, it is so popular, you know, commercials, movies, what have you, but growing up, yes, it was Teenage Wasteland. And it, you know, it's a song that it gets you pumped up. And as you said, it works its way up, you know, a different beginning than what probably people were used to at the time. I mean, that's, I think, the creativity with Townshend, but it just works its way up. As you said, the piano, the violin, it's got all these different instruments, but at its core, you know, great call with power, because Daltrey just, you know, this might be, you know, the best example of what is a power rocker sound like. This is, you know, where I think he shines through. And I thought, you know, Moon always, just from the earliest times I remember hearing the song, he just comes through the speakers. So there's nothing wrong with this song. I mean, it is close to a perfect rock and roll song as you can get.
All right. So Bob O'Reilly, it's written by Pete Townshend. Pete Townshend wrote all the songs, with the exception of My Wife, with John Entwistle brought it in. So I'm just going to say that for now. I don't have to repeat myself later on. It's in Time Magazine's 100 Greatest Songs of All Time, 159 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs. It's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for songs, 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. Just like Bullet Boys, Shoot the Preacher Down, Tom.
You're gonna make me choke.
Or Heat's fucking Victory, whatever fucking Olympic song they had. Whatever.
I mean, when you're talking vocalists, I mean, you have Roger Daltrey, and then you have, like, you know, Joey Tempest, Mark Torian. I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
Mark Torian. Actually, those guys that do have good voices.
They do. I'm just fucking around. We got to give Sonny some shit, even though he's not here.
Shit, I know that's your punching bag. Shoot the preacher down.
Just
anyways,
ridiculous.
The song is supposed to be in the Lifehouse storybook. The farmer is singing this, and as he gathers his family around him, and they're about to leave London. Okay. What I always found interesting is Teenage Wasteland. So what does it mean? I've seen and heard Townshend describe it in many different fashions. Not the original, like, oh, fucking people just smoking dope and get all fucking up. I've heard him talk about it, that it's teenage wasteland, like wasted youth. Like they're not doing anything with themselves. They got all this talent or whatever, and they're just wasted. Like you didn't use them properly, or they didn't get to where they need to go. And that's one of the other interpretations of it. The song was originally going to be 30 minutes. Whew. Thank God it wasn't. It's the theme to CSI. I never watched that show, but I know when I've seen it, like the intros to those shows.
Yep.
I like it because it's in the Summer of Sam, that movie. It's a great scene in that movie with that. It's played at the halftime of the Pats for the New England Patriots. And the Rangers use it as the New York Rangers use it as their entrance for the playoffs, which probably doesn't get played much then. Somebody got that. Funny thing is, when I first started playing this in the car to drive to my kid to school and stuff like that, at one point my kid says to me, "Oh, this song sounds like they stole it from One Direction." I'm like, "What?"
Yes, they definitely did.
Yeah,
even like, One Direction was the.
I'm like, she's like, this is like ripping off One Direction song. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I guess there's a song called, I don't know what it's called by One Direction, that it sounds very similar. They ripped off the opening kind of thing of Bob O'Reilly, I guess. I don't know.
Where else are you going to get this kind of analysis where we can incorporate One Direction into an analysis of who's next? Yes. Nowhere.
Yeah. And then Pete Townshend, I supposedly read that where he's like, I don't give a shit if they sign. I like the band. I'm not going to sue them for it, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dave Arbus is doing the outro violin.
Yep.
Which they start getting into their fucking little, I don't know what that is, hold down shit like you talked about.
Yeah.
But the big thing about, for me, in this song, and what they talk about it in the documentary, Tom, that we discussed, is this is the first time synths were used as not just making weird, awkward noises. It's part of the rhythm.
Yes.
It's part of the song.
Yep.
And it's not just thrown into, like all the weird shit Pink Floyd does. That beginning synth intro, I mean, the synth is all over this album.
Yeah.
And it's just like a guy like Pete Townshend who found this new toy to play with. And he's like, oh, I'm going to oh my God, all the shit I can get from this.
And you think 1971, like,
yeah,
that
and
fucking
he's doing
incredible.
This.
Yep.
And you can see the fucking monstrosity those synth machines were when he's talking about, oh, this is the original synth machine. You're like, holy.
Yeah. It looks like fucking Missile Command. It's like all on the walls and it's like,
nice reference.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And he actually controls this and creates it as part of the song. Now, the video that I talk about, it's not really an official video, but it's the one that everyone knows and remembers, that and Won't Get Fooled Again.
Mm-hmm.
It is just, as we were saying earlier, to me, the epitome of rock. Entwistle is hitting dum, dum, dum. It is just insane how heavy that sounds without being like, 15 shredding guitars and things like that.
And also production that is of the time. It's not bad, but 1971 production is not 1981 production or 1989 production. So I think it's a testament to, I think, the power of the Who, that this album or this song has that much balls to it. And
you can tell because in the video, Townshend is just hitting a fucking tambourine throughout this.
Yep.
It's Entwistle's bass that's carrying the whole fucking song.
Yep.
And it sounds as heavy as possible. Dun, dun, dun. There's no guitar in that.
Yep.
It's just him, and he's so heavy, and he's keeping everything going. And a couple things that always irked me a little bit about the lyrics. Out here in the fields, I fight for my meals.
Yep.
I get my back into my living. Like he works hard. He puts his back into it. I don't need to fight to prove I'm right. Didn't you just say you fight for your meals?
Right.
And then I don't need to fight.
As a kid, I actually thought this song was like a war song about Vietnam.
Dude, I always thought it was a Vietnam song, and I always thought that's what Teenage Wasteland meant. Always.
Yep.
Oh no, I never put that. I never thought
I always, it probably wasn't until I was like much, much older when I realized what the song was. But growing up here, I think in Teenage Wasteland, I'm like, they're talking about Vietnam. That's what I thought always.
And when he starts, out here in the fields, that big bass voice comes in,
Fucking
and then
incredible.
I don't need to be forgiven.
Yep.
And that line, and then all of a sudden, Townshend fucking starts doing the windmill power chord.
When he comes in with that chord. Oh yeah.
And he's like fucking all gyrating, doing all shit. And Keith Moon is going nuts. And Entwistle's just fucking power bass. And Daltrey's right in front singing. Oh my God. It's rocking. It's perfection.
Yep. Fucking
it's so cool. It's like the coolest thing for me. Yep. Anyways, that's song 1. Let's go to song number 2.
Bargain, which was ruined by me with that endless loop of the Nissan car commercial. And I don't know if it was the 90s, the 2000s, whenever it was, constantly couldn't fucking hear this song. And I'm going to tell you right now, I never liked this song before the Nissan commercials, and I still don't like it because Nissan ruined it. Now, I will kind of put that aside and look at it from what's going on with the song musically. Keith Moon, again, let's just get out of the way. Fucking, he brings balls to all these songs. Daltrey's vocals get an incredible howl. But then the weird part, like most of these songs, Pete Townshend comes in, and I'm like, did the song just change without telling me? Like, he's like, I'm like, what is going on here? But then throughout this album, and there's one song I'll specifically get to, I'll bring it up here. Keith Moon, he has never met a drum fill that he didn't love.
I fucking had that line.
That is all he is doing is drum fills. And I'll tell you right now, I say this, I love the drums. So Keith Moon is my man. And the best part of this song, the whole outro is like a drum solo.
Yep.
But that being said, it's not a song I go to. It's not a fan favorite, but musically, Keith Moon, I just fucking love what he's doing there.
So I guess I'm leaning towards your position on this, Tommy, that it's a classic. We've heard it. You'll always hear it. It's going to be in rotation, classic rock. And the lyrics, actually looking it up, it's a really well-written song.
It is. I agree.
But it's just, something about it. I don't know if, getting into it, and I know we've already talked about it, but it's like, I'm sitting there going, would Plant do a better job on this than Daltrey? Because the lyrics are there, the sound is there.
So you think it's too powerful? You think Daltrey is too powerful for the type of song it is? Maybe.
Because if it was Plant, you don't have Townshend come in to do that piece. I think he could do the whole. Plant would take down and just do it all on his own.
Okay.
I mean, it's to me, it is. I feel like I should like this more than I do.
Yep.
Because all the elements are there, but it's just something I can't put my finger on that gets it over the edge. And maybe subconsciously from those commercials, because thinking about it now, can't explain. The Who put a lot of their music out there on commercials in the 90s and the aughts.
Yep.
The fucking commercial land are not fucking buying Winger's fucking discography to put on for commercials.
Why, you don't think State of Emergency should be on the new Jeep commercial?
Or Kip Winger's version of Purple Haze. Holy fucking catastrophe. Anyways, Bargain, to me, I mean, this is one of those like, deja vu. Why do I know this song? I've always had that feeling about the song. I like it a lot. It's Pete Townshend's favorite song on the album. Supposedly a love song, but not about love, more about God. And it's about his affection for the fucking Mahatma Gandhi guy, whatever the fuck his name is, Baba the elephant. whatever his name
Baba
is.
Ganoush. Yo Gabba Gabba.
Well, it's supposed to be about him and like his devotion to him and what he says and his love and what he wants to do. Mehar Baba's about losing one's ego as a devotee of that person, of that belief or God or whatever you want to call it. There is a part in the song, and again, it's Entwistle. After every verse, there's a low boom. Boom.
Yep.
I fucking love it. His bass sticks out. The drums are absolutely insane from the start of this song to the end. Keith Moon, he's got to be fucking exhausted by the end of a concert with all the shit he's doing. He's never just on the backbeat. Just doo.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. It's never bass, snare, bass, snare, bass, snare. It's always and the best part of that classic album's documentary is you could see the smile that Daltrey gets out when they're playing like isolated drums.
Oh, yes.
And they're talking about how fucking much he brought a smile. He's like, listen to this. And then you hear this insane fill and they all just break into laughter.
Yeah.
It's great.
And what's interesting is I always find that this is a type of band that you have like everybody's like a solo artist doing their own thing, and somehow it works.
Yep.
Like Entwistle is not going whatever the fuck what's his name is doing on drums, Moon,
right.
and what's his name, Towns is doing his own thing, and then you got the vocals running its own melody. It's just four instrumentalists just going fucking nuts.
Yep.
The drums, as I said, were insane, but the vocals for me, after Roger says the best I've ever had, all of a sudden Moon comes in with those fills, and then he comes back, the best I ever.
Screams it.
Oh my God. It's perfect. Yeah. And you're right. I don't know what the Townsend bridges are. They're all over this stuff. But I can imagine because all the demos and everything is done by Townsend. He's singing everything. And he's like, this is what we want to do. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to keep this part. I'll do this part. And I like the acoustic build right back into the rock. And there's that synth in it, kind of like thing going on in the end.
Yes.
On that outro. And then they go back to it again and end with it. And the acoustic part to it comes in. There's a lot of shit musically happening on this stuff that's where we get back to and be like, dude, Townsend is fucking insane. The way they made this all kind of work between him doing the acoustic guitar, the rock guitar, the synthesizer, Moon in his fills, Entwistle in his bass, it's just a lot. And the fact that they get this all done correctly also goes kudos to Glyn Johns, who's a fucking incredible producer. So I'll give him credit for that because this sounds incredible. Let's go to track number 3, the Zeppelin song.
Well, Zeus said it. Love Ain't for Keeping, the best song Zeppelin never recorded. That's what I call this.
Really?
I think this is the best song that Zeppelin never made.
I figured you would fucking hate this and say, what are they trying to be, Led Zeppelin?
Nope. I fucking think this song is beautiful. It's incredible. The acoustic sound, Daltrey's vocals, the groove, it proves that he can do more than one thing. And one of my favorite parts of the song is the acoustic solo. And then you got those backing vocals kind of like humming along. Like this song belongs on like Zeppelin 3.
What song?
Like, yes.
What song does this remind you of?
Oh God. A lot of Zeppelin songs.
Do you know what this reminds me of?
Go ahead.
Guitars and the way it comes out. It sounds like, hey, what can I do?
Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely, Zeus. I was
That's
just
right.
about to say that.
That's it.
Great call.
In the bars
Great
with the
call.
men with big guitars.
That's probably the first one that pops into my head, but it could be a bunch of different, but it's definitely the Who's version of Hey, Hey, What Can I Do? I think it's a fantastic song. And I'm shocked that this was never like a single. I can't believe this is buried into a deep cut.
Really?
Yep. I love it. Murph.
Yep. Had it noted as after the first 2 songs, all power, then it just totally pivots in another direction. This is just a great acoustic song. Awesome lyrics. It's not totally stripped down, but coming out of the last 2, it feels that way. And yeah, I'm not going to keep saying it. It's just Daltrey did a great job on it, but with the best song that Zeppelin never wrote and sung, this absolutely should be on Zeppelin 3.
Yep.
It's a great tune, and never heard it before.
Me neither.
This week, so this was one of 2 surprises in a pleasant way for me on this album.
Yep.
The greatest song Zeppelin ever wrote was "Lonely as the Night" by Billy Squier.
You love that.
We all picked it, I think, number 1.
Yeah, nobody's fault but mine. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Or Barracuda, they said, right?
Well, yeah.
Love Ain't for Keeping. It's like an acoustic country song. There's no synth in this, which is very different.
Which I think makes it stand out.
Yeah. To me, this is where I'm like, no, leave this to Robert. This isn't where Roger Daltrey. It doesn't work for me.
Okay.
It's hippie shit. It's hippie love psychedelic shit. It sounds like.
Yep.
Oh, love ain't for keeping. Like it.
But I like that they can do more than one thing.
Yeah. There's an earlier version, and you guys should look it out and find it. Which, like, for me, now I'm going to have to look it up, but for me, I love Led Zeppelin's Brawny R Stomp.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And they also, on Brawny R Stomp, they did an electric version of that song, which they called Jennings Farms Blue. Apparently, the real version of this, or the earlier version, is with electric guitars. And they had Leslie West from Mountain do lead guitar on it. That's out there. And you can hear a rocking version of this song, which is interesting. So I'd love to hear what you guys think if you ever listen to that. But again, for me, I don't know. I prefer the other stuff on this. Like the next song. My wife.
This is my wife. This is my other wife.
Okay, my wife, John Entwistle on vocals. So I'm going to pull something out of here that I know Zeus and Murph will understand, but not since Pearl Jam's Yellow Ledbetter has there been a more indecipherable fucking lyrical song on planet Earth. I have absolutely no clue what the fuck he is saying about. It says something about a precinct, and I don't know what this is. It's nice that they got a little surprise for you tonight. We're going to turn the microphone over to John Entwistle.
John, wake up. John.
This is just not good. It's just not good. It's why he can't sing. He can't sing. He can't enunciate. I don't know what's happening. It's just not good. The only thing that I like about this song, which is kind of stupid, is I like the horns at the end. Like when it's like, but other than that, I'm like, it's just not good. It's just not good. Murph, go ahead, take it.
I fucking love this song. So I thought he sounded like Ringo because just that deep sound. I actually was when I was watching the documentary, I had the subtitles, so I know the lyrics now and I understand it's tongue in cheek, but I really, really liked his sound. I actually thought, and maybe it's because he knew what his range was. He stayed within it, but I actually had the note of, after listening to this album 15, 20 times this week, in the moment, this was the one I enjoyed the most, because the others I know, like the rankings are going to follow it the other way because they've been part of my life. But this, having 4 or 5 songs on this album come up for the first time, I really enjoyed this. But then with the horns, made me think of the imitation you guys did for Elder with the.
I will say this. The arrangement of the song itself is okay, but Entwistle's just rambling incoherence. It distracts me from the song.
Oh yeah. I mean, going from Teenage Wasteland to I Need Lead Boots to get away from my wife, I mean, it is going in a different direction. And, I don't know if it was filler, but I think it was filler.
Oh, it's filler. It's filler.
My Wife, written by John Entwistle, the only other song not written by Pete Townshend. So this is the only song really that he pulled in that wasn't part of the project, the Lifehouse project. And Entwistle got tired of singing Boris the Spider live, so he's like, let me do another song, and I can say that would be my version. So the Ace Frehley Shock Me version where he gets to sing a song. For me, I can pick Murph or I can pick Tom. I am 100% Team Murph.
Okay.
Fucking love this song. You know what his voice sounds like? It sounds like somebody put Pete Townshend and Roger Daltrey together and got the middle voice in between them.
Well, I had never heard this before. So when it first played, I'm like, that doesn't sound. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm like, who? Because I didn't know John Entwistle had a vocal on this. So I'm like, this sounds. What is going on here? So I went to Wikipedia. I'm like, what the fuck?
He sounds like a guy with a big beard and he's singing through a mustache or singing through a beard. But I mean, it's the comic relief on the album. Supposedly, Townshend said it was the best rock number on the album. I fucking love the melody. And his voice works with me on it.
I agree.
The lyrics are funny and cool. There's a part in the song where he says, "All I did was have a bit too much to drink." And it makes me think of the part in Rod Stewart's Maggie May. All I needed was a friend. All I needed was a drink. Both those songs are very similar. The horns I fucking love, which he did.
Yes, I like
and
those
the piano. Too. And the part of the horns, this is the thing I said to you the other day. I said, hey, remember this. And I put it online. It is that Italian song from the 70s. Have you ever seen this?
The gibberish one?
The gibberish song.
Yes,
and then the dance and the guys dancing.
Yep.
It's called like Pria Sincola.
Yeah, it's some big word.
And it's like he's like an Italian singer, but he's also like a linguist.
Yep.
And he came up with the theory like, you fucking Italians will buy anything English. If it sounds English, you'll buy it. So he just made that song with all gibberish English words that make no sense. And it became this huge hit.
It's
and
like
he dances.
Yeah.
And he dances like really cool and shit. It's a big, huge thing, I guess, in Italy. Yep. But it's cool as fuck. But in that, that horn comes in. That's what it reminded me of.
Yep.
Fucking love it. Love it. This is what you would say a deep cut. And it's one of those things on an album that you find something like a lot of people found Heart of Stone in the last album. Like, oh my God, I didn't expect this. Where did this come from? This is my song. My Wife is my favorite deep cut on this fucking album. Love it. Okay. Love it. I love the melody. I love the lyrics. It just works for me. Now, let's, how many puns could we come up with this? The next track, The Song Is Over.
So the song is not over because it's still going on because it's long, but that's okay. I always say, where do we have to be? We can afford to listen to long songs. This song really hit me. This was a nice surprise because incredibly beautiful melody, the arrangement with the piano. Townshend his vocals fit this so perfectly because he has such a melancholy tone to his singing. So when he's singing Our Love Is Over, This Song Is Over, it's so beautiful. But then when Keith Moon crashes in and Daltrey just rips the mic and he just says, I sing my song to the wide open spaces. Like that's the power that we're talking about with Daltrey. And Zeus, I can't wait to hear what you think about this because I know you love Kiss songs where Paul and Gene share a vocal. So a song like this, it's two songs in one. It's the thoughtful, sad song by Townshend and then just the power ballad by Daltrey. And it definitely has some Zeppelin feel to it as well here. I could feel some Zeppelin in this as well, especially because it was long. Zeppelin obviously loves long songs, but this was a real revelation to me when I heard this. I had never heard this song before on this album until I played it, and I just think it's a beautiful song. Power and beauty all in one from the Who for me here.
This song was a dud for me. Knowing that it was, with the album, it was the last song on side one. knowing what was the original idea for the album, they were going for something here, and I appreciate that. And whereas I like some of Townshend's vocals, as we said earlier, let my love open the door. His voice did not work for me on this, but I did appreciate them going back and forth, and I thought that they played well together on it. But for me, it just, this was a tough one to get through, going over it time and again.
Wow.
But by the end of, listening to it this week, I was just waiting for Moon's part, and just how he takes out this song is, this is where I felt like he shone the brightest, because there's the other pieces, it was soft, and then he comes in and kind of pounds the hell out of it.
I'm surprised, Murph, because you usually like wimpy music.
I love my acoustic. I love my sappy, pillow hugging music. Yes,
I know. I'm kind of blown away. This didn't touch you the way it touched me, but that's okay.
And it might just come down to who was singing it.
Good point. Okay, fair enough.
The song is over. This is obviously part of the Lifehouse project, and it takes place after the police invade the Lifehouse Theater and the concert goers disappear and everyone leaves. There's the two contrasting voices. There's a lot of metaphors supposedly in this song. It's a big part of the story in the book, but it's a good ballad. I like more when Roger's voice comes in, and I love trade-off with singers. And I like the very various types of vocals between Peter and Pete Townshend and Roger Daltrey. When he starts singing, I'll sing my song to the wide open spaces.
Fucking awesome.
Keith Moon is going absolutely insane. Just incredible. And then just all the stuff going on at the ending and outro. The song is over. You got synth going. You got an electric. You got the acoustic.
That's why I love it.
It's very Brian Wilson pet sound shit. There's a million moving parts going on at the ending outro of it. This is why I understand why people are like, the Beatles are brilliant. Like the shit that they're doing musically.
Yep.
And, maybe a song moves you up, but they're just compositions of the song and the vocals and the instruments and all that stuff. This is why I get what people compliment Brian Wilson, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and Keith, and Pete Townshend. It's a lot of shit going on. It's in a good song too. It's a real good song. All right, let's turn the album over. Side 2 opens up with this.
Getting in tune. Right on tune. Another just awesome revelation for me when I heard this. I love Elton John and I love Billy Joel, so I love like singer-songwriter type piano stuff. Again, I like when songs like this start off very like thoughtful and emotional, and then the band just kicks in and just Daltrey just takes off. When the verses come in, there's little guitar fills at the end of each lyric. John Entwistle's bass line is fucking out of this world. It's got an awesome call and answer style chorus that I love. But then I just started laughing, and I don't know if we've been doing this for too long or whatever. But when he starts saying, I'm just banging on my old piano, and then it's like getting in tune with the straight and narrow. All I'm picturing is the fucking Muppets. And
oh my God, I had Rolf.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Yes. I'm picturing is Rolf banging on the piano, and then like Kermit just sitting there going, getting in tune with the straight, and everybody just bouncing along. But I love that. And then of course it speeds up again. You get an outro that kind of changes gears real fast, real sped up. It's a great song. And, again, I'm pissed off that, I spent 51 years of my life not ever knowing this song, because I think it's a great one. Another fantastic deep cut.
I can't believe we were roommates for 4 years. This song just didn't connect. Now here's why.
What is the matter with you?
Here's the reason
whose idea was it to bring Murph?
Whose idea was it to bring? Oh, did Sonny Pooty pay you?
No.
Jesus Christ, Murph.
Look, I'm listening to the lyrics. I just saw Book of Mormon 2 weeks ago.
That's not a good thing.
Is that a positive thing?
But I'm picturing as the song, I'm sitting at a theater and, I'm getting in tune. I picture him singing like this is one of the numbers in the musical.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I could see that
with the lyrics. So
it's a little theatrical.
It's part of a fucking project, right? Yeah,
right. No, and that's it. It's just if this is where it was going for Townshend, this is everyone's going straight and narrow, and then just straight and narrow. But so I think just it got in my head. But I mean, look, my wife, I like this one here. It's just the piano, the Muppets saved the song for me at least.
Nice.
All right, so getting in tune as Tom and I were starting this episode, we were saying into each other,
"What?
Right on you, tooting right on you,
right on you." I'm in tune.
I'm tooting on you. Anyways, it's a contrast of the singing and writing for the purpose and actually writing as just being a rock star. So, he's writing this song. Am I writing this just to fucking put something out there and be a rock star? Or am I writing anything with meaning? What am I doing here? There's no real synth on this song. It's on the Jerry Maguire soundtrack. So there's a part where he says, I'm singing this note because it fits in well with the chords I'm playing. I can't pretend there's any meaning hidden in this thing I'm saying. That's basically the contrast of what am I doing, and he's analyzing himself as to what the purpose of being a musician and things like that on. What it does for me, it reminds me of Nirvana's On a Plane. What the hell am I trying to say? It's now time to make it unclear, write off lines that don't make sense. Similar kind of thing. Like, what am I doing? What am I writing? Am I really writing about this? Or am I really writing about just being coy and stuff? And I like that contrast because this was done originally in 1971. He's writing about that because no one knew what rock stars and what that like. This rock stars are only since the 50s.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is kind of new. But the fucking callback.
I love it.
Right on you. And then right on you. Back and forth. Oh, it's so fucking good. And then even the intro, getting into the straight and narrow. And Roger Daltrey's going nuts. Moon's going nuts. What a fucking outro. I love this song. Love it.
Too. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's go mobile.
Going mobile. This will be quick and easy. I don't like this song. I never liked this song. I don't like the Townshend's vocals. The only thing I like about this song is if you listen to this from start to finish, the Keith Moon, it's one long drum fill. Listen, next time you listen to this song, pay attention to what he's doing. There's no drum beat. He is just doing fills the entire time, which I think is fucking phenomenal. Townshend's voice, he does sound great. Entwistle sounds great. I just don't like the song. And again, there's a drum outro here again with Keith Moon just goes nuts. So Keith saves the song for me, but I just don't like the melody. I just don't like the tone. I just don't like the song itself. But thank you, Keith Moon, for making it listenable for me.
So it was probably the fourth or fifth time listening to it that I realized Daltrey's not on this.
Yeah.
It's just the other three. And in my notes, I had this as another song that could have been on Led Zeppelin 3.
Okay.
I thought musically, I thought they sounded awesome.
Yeah.
Once again, it's just, and I mean, look, I can't fucking carry a tune, but it's
right in tune. Sorry.
I'm thinking of that Chris Rock commercial.
Oh God.
So yeah, unbelievable sound. I thought it was a great jam. it almost seemed like it was just something that would have been on kind of like a bootleg, if you will, an outtake. But I agree that Townshend's voice just didn't do it for me. But I actually, compared to some of the other songs that I've commented on, I did find this more entertaining because I think it's just that acoustic jam element to it.
Going mobile. So for me, the acoustic version, this is something I wish I could learn how to play an acoustic guitar and I could sing this.
Yeah.
It's like a fun song. You could do
Yep.
Going mobile. It's like something that's just a fun little trio of a song. This is, you're correct. The second song where Daltrey doesn't do anything. It's a power trio, just like My Wife. There's no real Daltrey on that either. And it reminds me of the old fucking Keith Richards comment. Why don't you sing more songs on Stone's album? What would Mick do?
It's true.
But, sit there with the tambourine. That's what you see Daltrey doing, like those songs, and just sit there. Or I've seen videos of him with because I watched My Wife live, and he's just in the background doing like the white guy dance, kind of like to the song, or he'll hit a tambourine. What else is he gonna fucking do? But it's part of the Lifehouse story where the pollution and stuff is taken over, and people are told not to stay where they are. But people have a lust for life and adventure, so says Pete Townshend. I like it. I think it's a fun little melodic song, and I like his voice. It's like a little sweet little voice that he has on this song. Yep. There's a part in the middle of the song where he goes, hee woo, beep beep.
How did I forget that part? He's like, hee woo, beep beep. I'm like, what
that's when he ran into Prince on the fucking Genius Musicians meeting that he had. He said, hey, Prince, beep beep.
Dude, is there anything less rock and roll than going beep beep? Like, what?
There's a solo, and then fucking Moon is just going nuts, and the guitar and the synth going on there. I like it. I think it's a fun little ditty, and let's go to the next track.
All right, we got a legendary song here, Behind Blue Eyes. So the first half of this song, haunting. The acoustic tone, the harmonies, the backing vocals. To me, this is the song on the album that sounds very dated. It sounds very 60s, very Simon and Garfunkel-ish, which I love Simon and Garfunkel. I love Paul Simon. I grew up listening to that stuff in my house. But then when the song turns the corner and rips, and the band kicks in, you're like, holy shit. And again, Roger Daltrey with that power in the images that he's singing about, stick your finger down my throat, like all this shit. It's just a wild song. But I just don't really like that first half of it. Like, again, I like that kind of acoustic singer songwriter stuff, but I don't know. I like the song. It's just, this is one of those songs I feel like I should like it more than I do, but I do like it, and the band sounds amazing, and this is another perfect example of the power of Daltrey. So, I mean, it's a classic for a reason.
100% agree, Tommy. Classic, won't skip it or change the station if it comes up, but I almost feel guilty that I should like it more, that it's something that I'm missing out on. What I picked up on is, to me, this song reminded me a bit of Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. It starts
you go. There you go.
Starts off, slow, trippy, haunty, and then I have it from 2 minutes, 20 seconds on. I love it. It's just the first 2 minutes of it that I don't know. And I know it's more me because it is a great song. It will always be played on radio, but it's just something where, I think that's why I love this band, but it's for songs that are, earlier during their like mod era, and then kind of later on, You Better You Bet. But for this one here, I mean, it's always going to be a staple on the radio.
So Behind Blue Eyes was actually the second single. They made it to number 34 in the U.S. Lifehouse project part, sung by the main villain, Jimbo. and he's angry and full of angst. And he does understand because he feels he's a good guy, which when you know that story, then it makes the song makes complete fucking sense.
Yep.
Pete thought the song wasn't in character for British, to be a single in Britain. So he didn't release it there, but he released it in the US and elsewhere. The guitar riff at the end is, the rock part is in the bridge of Won't Get Fooled Again. So it's like kind of a link between both of the songs. I find the lyrics haunting. I mean, it hits you real hard. You know, no one knows what it's like to be the bad man. You get it, what he's singing, what he's trying to portray behind blue eyes. When Daltrey hits, but my dreams, I'm not going to attempt it. They aren't as empty as my conscience seemed. Dude, his vocals are phenomenal on this song. And then he gets into the fucking rock version. You know, when my fist clenches, crack it open before I use it and lose my control. Lyrics, vocals, it's off the charts. It's a beautiful song. It suffers for me because of fatigue factor.
Yes.
But the 220 mark, when the rock comes in, everybody fucking loves that stuff. And then it circles back to the soft beginning again. No one knows what it's like. I just think it's a genius song that suffers from, all right, we heard it. But when you fucking first hear those lyrics, probably when you first heard that song, no one knows what it's like, to be the bad man, or no one's like to be hated. I mean, it's fucking that's deep shit. I love the song, but it does suffer from fatigue from me. So, all right, let's go to why I picked this fucking album.
Won't Get Fooled Again. My opinion, one of the greatest songs in the history of rock music. Another intro that is legendary. You know the song as soon as you hear it. And when that drum kicks in, and when the guitar riff kicks in, it's just, this is to me what fucking classic rock is all about. But to me, the one thing that'll just make this song timeless is the single greatest scream in the history of rock music ever.
Yeah.
He teases you a little bit at around the 4:30 mark. There's one. But when you have that little kind of musical interlude where there's really nothing going on, no vocals, and then right around the 7:30 mark, you have Keith Moon with just a fucking insane drum fill section he's been doing the entire album. And then you get that scream, the greatest scream like ever. And when you watch the video or the live footage of this, it's fucking absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's kind of difficult to talk about a song like this because it's been around our entire lives. But there is that Kiss connection there.
Yep.
They used to play this. We used to hear that organ synth intro at the beginning, and you'd know that something's going on here. Plus, Kiss occasionally would throw it in the middle of a little, kind of little medley in the middle of their performances back at one point. But the song is just, it's fucking classic. It's just, it's a perfect song. Some people might say it's too long, and maybe there are sections of it where you're listening to it, you're like, all right, let's move along. But for me, perfect.
I had in my notes that this song is 8 minutes long and feels like it's 4. It just,
there you go.
Between the song itself, you listen to it, you hear they're all at their best. But then when you see the video,
oh yeah,
I just think the combination, I don't know if there's song video that can top it. Watching Entwistle play it, I cannot get over how crazy he is going working that bass.
It's insane.
And I'm looking at it going, he must drive his wife crazy in bed with this finger.
My wife.
My wife. And then for me, I mean, as much as I've kind of critiqued some of the things I've felt about Daltrey on this album, this is him at its best. And for me, as I talked about early on, kind of the early images as a kid I had of Pete Townshend on COZ, the Boston rock station, him at the end when he does that slide towards the camera. That's one of the greatest clips in rock history, in my opinion, because it's just got everything. You have Daltrey in the background wailing, and he's coming right at you. And he is just on fucking fire in this song. I mean, it gets them all at their best. I could talk about this song all day.
Yep.
Won't Get Fooled Again. It was number 9 in the UK, number 15 US, 295 and Rolling Stone's 500 greatest hits. Rolling Stone calls this the number 1 Who song. It's the closing number for the Lifehouse project. It's usually closed their set, and it's the last song that poor Keith Moon played live. It's about the main character in the Lifehouse project. Bobby is killed, and Townshend said it screams defiance of those who feel any cause is better than no cause. The lyrics on this song, so before I even get to the music, are just genius. It's very, very political. And it's literally about, I mean, you could probably take a different interpretation, but for me, it's about all this shit that everybody's saying and fighting for and all this stuff. It's the fucking same old shit. Nothing is going to change. Like the end, meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
One of the great lyrics.
Oh my God. And I like the part where it's like, I just pick up my guitar and play, meaning like, I'm just going on my shit. I'm doing my thing and all this shit's happening up. I tip my hat to the new Constitution for the new revolution. But in the end, I just hope they won't fuck us over again. And they fucking do every time. And it's political in the sense like everybody's always for the people, I always think. And that's when you get all the the socialists and the communists fight for the people. And you think of Russia in 1990. It's all the leftists. And as soon as they get into power, they become fascists and fuck everybody else. So, and now the parting on the left is now parting on the right. And it's all political shit. And all the beards have grown longer overnight. Genius fucking lyrics.
It is.
Off the fucking charts. And you know what he's doing? You know, he'll get on his knees and pray. You know, we don't get fooled again. And just meet the new boss. It's the same as the old boss. Fucking genius.
Yep.
Now, the music itself, once again, the synth is throughout this whole fucking album. We discussed it. But how much is the synth playing in this background?
Yep.
Right?
It's amazing. It's fucking incredible.
Insane.
Yep.
Oh my God. Dun, dun, dun. Just, and the power chords and all this stuff that come in. I mean, I can't, you already mentioned the scream, Tom.
Oh, which is incredible.
Yeah. I mentioned the synth, the insane synth, which gives it so much better of a feeling. Even there's a good rock guitar solo in there, and I'm not a big Townshend guitar solo guy because I don't think there's anything really that I've listened to on this album that's legendary.
No,
but I mean, there's a decent solo here on this one. If you just watch that live concert video of this song, and you're not saying, "God damn it, this is one of the greatest like bands caught at their greatest height," and maybe the greatest of any rock band ever at its height. Zeppelin on the top of the mountain, the Stones or the Who, and that's the moment for the Who. To me, and I don't give a shit, you know where this is going to fucking land. I'm going to say it right now. This is the greatest rock and roll song of all fucking time for me. There's nothing that's going to top this. Vocally, musically, lyrically, and performed live. Nothing. So this is why this album was picked, and I can't see anything ever beating this for me on ARC.
Wow. Nice. Okay.
So before we go into the rankings, let's get our final thoughts. Murph, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Well, I'm really glad that you reached out and asked me to participate in this one because I feel like I knew a lot about the Who, but this album allowed me to do a lot of research and get into a better understanding of just what was going through the mind of Townshend, how creative an individual he was, and just, I took for granted and didn't appreciate how powerful these four are together, and that, these four can go up against anyone in rock history. So, it was a nice treat. And as I mentioned, there were only four songs that I was familiar with. So it was cool to go deeper into their catalog. And I think, after we wrap up here, I'll still be dabbling in their catalog.
Yeah, I was glad that you picked this album, Zeus, because the Who is, other than the hits or like the rock radio songs that we've all heard for our entire lives, the Who was just a band I never got into, kind of a blind spot for me. But this album, it's a fucking fantastic listen. I mean, it's got the classics, it's got the songs that you've heard, and then the deep cuts are spectacular. And watching that documentary, that classic albums documentary on Who's Next, was just incredible behind the scenes on just hearing what everybody had to say. Just great stuff. I'm glad that we kind of went really way back into the Wayback Machine for some classic rock. Great album.
Yeah, I don't see us as far as because most of our stuff is hard rock and stuff. I can't think of a harder rock album prior to 71, really. I mean, maybe Black Sabbath stuff. Okay. But
other than something that's not Zeppelin, which would cover on Zeppelin Chronicles.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Black Sabbath, but this is about as heavy as you're going to get in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I wanted to get this because there's a couple songs that are all timers for me. And sometimes albums don't have to be even, but they have to have some songs that mean something to you and have an interest for you. And this is one of those albums that I specifically picked for that reason. And I would love to get the feedback from people. And the ones that don't know this or are tired of this, by the way, Won't Get Fooled Again is on fucking a million movies and a million TV shows, CSI bullshit and stuff like that.
Yep.
But anyway, anybody that, wasn't sure about it, you should listen to this album, I think. And hopefully you'll experience something. And for those that do know this, glad, I hope that you are glad that we picked this. But let's get into the tracks and figure out the order. So I'll start off.
Okay.
Number 9 for me, it's not even close. Love Ain't for Keeping.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Murph.
Number 9, Song Is Over.
Oh, you both were breaking my heart. Number 9 for me, Bargain.
8, Song Is Over.
Oh.
Number 8, Getting in Tune.
Number 8, My Wife.
All right. Getting in Tune. Number 7.
Number 7, Going Mobile.
That is my number 7.
That's my number 6.
Number 6 for me, Bargain.
Number 6 for me is Behind Blue Eyes.
5 for me. They call that a bargain. The best I've ever had.
Number 5 for me, Love Ain't for Keeping.
I don't see what you guys see in that. I don't.
Number 5 for me, Right in Tune.
I'm tooting on you. Number 4 for me is Borat's My Wife.
Oh, God.
Number 4 for me, Behind Blue Eyes.
Number 4 for me, The Song Is Over.
3, Behind Blue Eyes.
Number 3, My Wife.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Murph.
Number 3, Love Ain't for Keeping.
What?
I think we all have the same. This might be an ARC first. All 3 of us have the same 1 and 2.
Yeah. Let's figure that out. Number 2 for me, Baba O'Reilly.
Number 2 for me, Won't Get Fooled Again.
You fucking suck, Murph. You never bring him back.
God,
never bring him back.
I thought we were going to have an ARC first. Oh. Yeah, Bob O'Reilly's 2 for me.
And obviously from the accolades I gave, Won't Get Fooled Again is number 1.
Number 1, Barbara O'Reilly.
Yeah, won't get fooled again. Yep. That's okay. I mean, some people might think they're interchangeable, but that's all right.
No, it is for those two. For me, they could be.
Yep.
So then you should have went along with us just to make us happy, Murph. What the fuck?
How dare you?
How dare you? Hold on.
So it looks like our average of the top 4 songs, shockingly here, is Won't Get Fooled Again, Baba O'Reilly, Behind Blue Eyes, and somehow My Wife.
I love it. Love it.
Yep.
All right. Tom and I are going to continue the tradition of album covers and album rankings. Tom, your covers, top 5.
Yep, my top 5 covers are Moving Pictures at number 5, Rage Against the Machine, Blizzard of Oz, Purple Rain at number 1, Master of Puppets. So I think this cover is stupid, but I think it's unique. I think it's, kind of a classic image. It's not boring. I'll give it that. It's not boring. Like a lot of the covers that I have below it on my rankings. So I'm going to put Who's Next at number 33. It's right below Jar of Flies and right above Super Unknown. I'm anxious to see how many votes My Wife is going to get when we do the ARC poll next week.
0.
Exactly.
So for me, I had Slide It In at 5, Peace of Mind, 4, Appetite for Destruction, 3, Blizzard of Oz, 2, Hotel California, 1. I am putting this cover, it gets it because let's be honest, it's iconic.
Exactly.
So for me, I'm putting this right above Rocks and underneath Purple at number 15.
15. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So for albums themselves, my top 5 right now are number 5, Fair Warning, Shout at the Devil, Purple Rain, Moving Pictures, Master of Puppets at number 1. I like this album. It gets so difficult. We've done 49 albums and a lot of the genre is similar, 80s, 90s, hard rock and grunge. So this is an outlier. So for me, it's difficult to rank because I look at my listings and it's like a mood thing, but I think Won't Get Fooled Again and Baba O'Reilly just carry this so much and the deep cuts are so fun. I'm actually going to throw this in at number 20 for me. And I'm going to put it right below Appetite for Destruction and right above Billy Squire's Feet at Don't Say No. So I have it. Who's next at number 20?
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's the highest you've ever put one of my albums, Tom.
Nope. I got Purple at number 10.
Oh, fuck. I stand corrected.
Yep.
All right. So let's go to mine. Mine number 5 is Pyromania. 4 is Blizzard of Oz. 3, Hotel California. 2, Automatic of the People. Number 1 is Purple. I am putting this album at number 10.
Ooh. All right.
I'm moving it above Use Your Illusion 2. It's just Use Your Illusion 2 has got a lot of uneven stuff.
That's what suffered for me when I was doing rankings.
A little bit. Yep. Yeah. And I have to be kind of in the mood to listen to this kind of music sometimes versus 10. I can blast anytime. So I'm putting it underneath 10. So this is going at number 10. Who's next?
Nice.
All right. What we do next is we go to this. Murph, what makes you rock hard besides Viagra?
So over the holidays, Christina and my older daughter went to go see The Holdovers. It's a movie starring Paul Giamatti, and he is a teacher, professor at this upscale private prep school in New England. It's set in the early 70s, and all the kids go home for break except a handful. And the story revolves around him, the housemaid, if you will, and one student who spend the Christmas break together. It's been nominated for Best Picture. Paul Giamatti's been nominated for Best Actor. The woman who plays the housemaid, whose name escapes me, nominated for Best Supporting Actress. It is a really, really good movie. I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes some type of cult holiday movie because it is set around the Christmas time. Set in the early 70s, so it's got some good soundtrack songs from that era. And then for those from the Boston area, because it's filmed around here, there were some nice spots that popped up. But knew it was supposed to be really good, and it exceeded my expectations. So The Holdovers.
Nice. I haven't seen it yet. I see it's available on streaming, so I have it lined up for me to watch for sure because I've heard great things. So for me, I'm going to go with the series on HBO, or now known as Max, and I'm going with True Detective. But I want to say that the most recent season of True Detective Night Country with Jodie Foster, started out great and kind of ended on a thud. But I went back and watched the original series from 10 years ago with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. You talk about a piece of television that has aged well, that is fucking incredible acting and incredible writing. I mean, I knew that was good. I knew that was good when I watched it originally, but watching it again and kind of making my way through the True Detective series, it's so unique. They're so original. The writing and the acting is amazing. So if you have not jumped on the True Detective wagon, I highly urge you to do so. And even though each season is completely different with different actors, there are a few very, very small and very, very interesting connective threads between each season. So it's available on Max streaming True Detective. There's 4 seasons. Great TV.
Awesome. Yep. I was worried about it. I mean, I love Jodie Foster. Love her.
I would recommend it. I just was a little disappointed with how it progressed and how it ended, but it was still good.
That's what I heard. But
it's still good TV. Yeah.
So the thing is, I just fucking people have to ruin it all the time because they'll be like, oh, this and that. But from what I understand, season 1 is still the standout.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
Okay. And I don't know what it is, Tom, but I don't know. I like my lesbians. I love Jodie. I love Jodie Foster. Love her.
Wait, she's awesome. A lesbian?
Yeah. Is it Freddie Mercury?
Freddie Mercury? Is he a gay man?
Yeah. Doesn't Borat do that? He doesn't believe that Freddie Mercury's gay. All right. For mine, Tom, I was going back and forth with one, but I noticed that I want to talk about TV shows. Sometimes, we don't usually get into a lot of this stuff. And this isn't a, actual, sitcom or anything like that, but this is the Chris Wallace show I watched on CNN. Wallace came from Fox. So when he goes on to what's called, the middle of the pack CNN or leftist kind of thing, I always like Republicans on Democrat shows and Democrats on Republican shows.
Me too.
And the show goes on every Saturday and he has a panel of 4 experts and they're usually 2 on the kind of left and 2 on the right. So they have like on the right, it'll be like that guy, Rehan Salam. I don't know if you know him.
Yep.
And, Jonah Goldberg, Kristen Saltis Anderson. On the left, he has Lulu Garcia Navarro. I don't remember who she's from.
That is.
But the person that I like the most, and I fucking hang on every word of hers, I love Kara Swisher, the tech genius out there that is fucking brilliant. She knows everything about tech and all that stuff. I find her fascinating whatever time she talks. She's got an awesome podcast too with my other favorite, the professor guy that I love, Scott Galloway. That I think is fucking genius in their podcast called Pivot. You should listen to that. It's a lot of fun. But Swisher and them are always, they'll talk some politics. They'll talk tech news. They'll talk about things that are happening in the future that will affect people. It's not your normal, political show. It's not. It's everyday stuff that you hear about, or things that might happen with Google, or things that might happen with cell phone use, or when they came up with the new, what's that new fucking visor thing that they have?
The Apple Vision thing or whatever.
Yeah, that new one they were talking about. So it's always fascinating. It's on Saturday mornings, and Wallace is okay. I've never really had that much of a problem with him. And like I said, I like opposite point of views on opposite point of networks. So I like it. It's on Saturday mornings. I always DVR it and watch it later. Chris Wallace show. It's fun for me. So anyway, That will do it for us. Tom, you can tell people where they can find us.
Yeah, so we're Shouted Out Loudcast. If this is your first time hearing us, we're normally a all Kiss podcast that drop Kiss episodes every Saturday. Once a month, we do these album review crew episodes where we pick an album and we spend 3 to 8 hours talking about it, as we did this morning. But you can find us on our website at shoutedoutloudcast.com. You can drop us an email at shoutedoutloudcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And you can check us out. All of our different episodes are there. So hope you enjoyed The Who.
Yeah. We always end on famous last words. Murph, you got any?
My life's in jeopardy. Murdered in cold blood is what I'm going to be. I have been home since Friday night, and now my wife is coming after me.
Did you get all that, Tom, when he sang it?
I think I got, I didn't understand a single word when you said that at all. All right. I got it all here in my head. There's nothing more needs to be said. I'm just banging on my old piano. I'm getting in tune to the straight and narrow.
And the men who spurred us on sit in judgment of all wrong. They decide, and the shotgun sings the song. Woo!
Love it.
Oh, as good as Bang Bang You.
Right up there.
Yeah, almost. Murph, Tom, Loudcasters, thank you.
Thanks for the invite, guys. Always good to catch up.
Murph, thanks for joining us. This was a blast. Zeus, great pick. Fun episode. Everybody, thank you so much. Zeus, as always, my friend, thank you.
Peace out, Girl Scout.